if you go to India, even the Hindus, they worship and they revere the cows. Imagine God giving you just one animal that gives you all of these things.
They have plenty things they get from those cattle, like the milk.
Blood for food. The horns could also be used as musical instruments.
Yeah.
You know, even the hoofs.
The animal dung, they use that. They even use it to catch fire.
Oh, wow. So like
they do
dry
that.
dung.
Yes, they use it to catch fire. They use it to build huts as cement.
The fascination around that animal, and it's not only by the Maasai culture. Can we not live without cows?
Welcome to the Forgecast. So today's story is actually from the Masai and Durobo culture of East Africa. And the Masai story has overshadowed the Durobo perspective. And so we want to look at everything from both sides. So let's start with the Masai. According to the Masai origin story, a long time ago when the world was new, there were no cattle on earth until Enkai, the god of the sky, decided to send down cattle to Masinta, a man who must have found favor in the eyes of Enkai. But Enkai had a directive. He told Masinta, you must not make any sound as I'm sending these new creatures to you, and you must protect them and nourish and cherish them like you would your own children. So basically, Enkai was like, Masinta, act like you've seen this before. And Masinta was like, God, say less, don't worry, I know what to do. But unfortunately, like these stories go, when there's caution, there's always bound to be human mistakes. So when God started sending down the cattle one by one, they were coming down. You know how heavy cattle are, and I'm sure they must have been thundering down and making so much noise. And Masinta stuck to the instruction. He was as quiet as possible, even though it was, a crazy sight. Like imagine large, fat cows just thundering down from the sky. But he tried his best. He kept quiet. Unfortunately for him, his neighbor, Durobo, happened to be passing by at that moment, and Durobo must have cried out in amazement, like, what is this? Like animals falling down. Like it's literally raining cows, and then God was of course displeased because he had given strict instructions. Nobody should make any noise. So from that point, no more cattle came down. And Masinta was angry, like, God was enriching me. Do you know the value of these big animals? And then now you've cut it short. For this reason, I'll banish you. You will no longer be my neighbor. You can stay in the forest while I stay in the plains. And from this day, I'll never give you any milk or any meat or any dairy product. And me and my descendants will call you those without cattle, like it's some sort of insult. But according to the Maasai story, that is how the beginning of cattle came about. And that's the Maasai perspective. But then let's talk about value systems. The Maasai value cattle above all else. They love the milk, the cheese, the butter, the meat, the dung. They use all parts of the animal for so many things. They revere them, like maybe even like family members, So to them, they value cattle above all else, but that's their value system. So how about the Durobo perspective? I'm sure they have things that they value too.
The Durobos, they value more of their trees, their plants. They value Mother Nature. I feel like that's what they are bent on. That's what they see as something they should live on. But for the Maasai, they value their cattle because they have plenty things they get from those cattle, like the milk. They use the blood for food. The animal dung, they use that. They even use it to catch fire.
Oh wow! So like
they do
dry dung.
Yes, they use it to catch fire. They use it to build huts as cement. I don't know if anybody has heard of that before.
To the fire, wouldn't the fire smell shitty, like a shitty fire? Like I'm just imagining
it's very possible
to have an aroma like incense, like shitty incense.
Yeah. I believe once the dung is dry, it loses all properties or organisms that would emanate that kind of smell.
Okay.
Now I think the fascination over the cattle, just one animal, providing hide, milk, blood for food. The horns could also be used as musical instruments.
Yeah.
Even the hoofs. So the fascination around that animal, and it's not only by the Maasai culture. If you go to India, even the Hindus, they worship and they revere the cows. But even though they say they don't worship it, they call it mother cow. Because looking at just one animal providing all of these things. So I guess because of that, the value attached to that particular animal makes them feel they are larger than life, or even
Yeah.
special or gifted by God. Imagine God giving you just one animal that gives you all of these things. You begin to
Interesting.
feel special, that you're the
course.
chosen one among
Obviously.
and all of
About
that.
like the chosen one concept. I feel like a lot of nomadic cultures have that chosen one complex. You know, like once we have cows, let's say the Dinka of South Sudan or the Fulani of Western Africa,
Yeah.
you know, they have that chosen people, and then they feel like all the cows of the world are theirs. And a lot of them, their origin story is like, okay, God sent us the cows, so all the cows
Belong to us.
Yeah, so if they even see you like rearing cattle, they're like,
Logically.
you know, this
Like,
is our
this is
thing.
ours.
Yes,
Does
you must
that
have
make
stolen it.
sense?
Maybe your ancestors stole our ancestors' cows. Like they feel like all the cows of the world belong to us, nomads.
Logically, does that even make
It
sense?
doesn't even make sense.
Like,
logically.
firstly, from the point of the story of cows falling down,
Like,
this is the
what is
first
it?
point I will still stand on. I don't, like, feasibly, right? Okay, let's say maybe the story is a bit of fiction. Yes, because I can't really put it down to, like, my head and wrap around, like, how cows came down. And you expect Durobo to keep quiet. I will shout.
Abi,
The
I'll be
moment I see cows coming, I will
Like,
scream.
I will
and the cows are
to be
big
honest,
and heavy. So imagine them just
imagine
falling
the
down.
noise. No, just think about it now. You go out and,
And
see
maybe they are
cows falling
moving
down.
like moo.
Like-
and you can even think like back then, like there was not a lot of civilization technology.
Yes.
So maybe now I even think it's a
Western
hologram.
civilization.
Yes.
Yes, Western civilization.
The thing is, even
because
now-
Africa had its own civilization.
Yes,
Sure.
even now, if you're in your house and you start hearing noises like sounds from
You'll be like,
outside,
what's happening?
What's happening? You will rush out, even if people are
So
fighting.
we really can't blame Durobo.
Yes, we can't blame him for that.
So we're saying like, okay, can you imagine a world without cheese, milk, butter, and all the dairy products that, you know, cattle bring forth?
Yeah.
But me, like I like cheese, I like yogurt, all those things. But I feel like I can survive
No
without those
pancakes?
things.
No pancakes.
No pasta.
I can make
no creamy
Nah.
pasta.
pancake or goats. Goats also have milk. There's goat's cheese, goat's milk, you know,
But
things like that.
if you try to compare the goat and the cattle, there's no comparison because
Is it the size?
volume of the milk it will produce is not the same as the cattle. You know, the blood, I have never seen or heard people drink the blood of goats.
But I'm sure there are
Cheese.
some people somewhere that
That's
do
true.
that.
Possible.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the meat would feed an entire village. So imagine an average Kenyan of 500 years ago having this kind of animal at their possession.
Yeah.
They would feel 10 times taller than any other
And,
tribe.
so, and then they are 10 times taller
10 times
than
taller.
everybody.
Yes, you-
So they feel they're more
So,
connected
yeah.
to the supreme being, and therefore the Durobos who just couldn't keep their mouth shut obviously should not have any kind of respect because
Yeah.
they would have maybe gotten more cattle if not for the noise they
Yes,
made.
they'll be like, I'm only poor. I only have 300 cattle. If not for these guys.
Not for someone that was scared for his life. What do you mean?
And looking at the culture generally, you know, if you look at how they attach value, they use that as dowries as well. If you want to
They
marry
do.
in their tribe, you have to bring a certain, you know, a number of cows before they can release or let their daughter go to another family.
Yeah.
So it is a very powerful tool. They worship, so to speak, or you know, figuratively, they actually revere the cattle, and therefore nothing matters to any other person or even to the tribe than what they attach to the cattle.
But it's just, you know, their perspective. For
Yes.
the Durobo now, their own value system is all of nature. They are animes who value all that nature has, even the things that don't have life, like rivers and rocks. To
Yeah.
the Durobo, all living things, all natural things have a
Yes.
spirit or a soul, and they are all connected. So you have to be connected. Like even before they go on a hunt, like they would pray, you know, they don't take more than they need, you know, that kind of harmony with
another
nature. So
perspective,
that's their own
I
value
think if you
system.
think about it, can we not live without cows?
Me, I can't live
Is it
without.
impossible?
I mean, they even say that cow has the reddest meat, and red meat is not so,
So I
great
don't
for you.
think it's
You know,
impossible
No, I
that we
think that
can.
red meat concept started in modern society. But back then,
Yeah.
because if you look at the general agrarian society, you're constantly moving, you're constantly working, you're at the farm. For the Dorobos, or for the Masai,
Yeah.
they are cattle rearers. So it
Yeah.
means they
True.
don't stay in one spot. So you cannot accumulate cholesterol or whatever that is
Yes.
bad for your health.
That's a great point.
Because
Even
what
the
makes-
cattle are free range. They are
Yes.
walking about. Not like now you have a ranch and put them, or a big farm industry, and be feeding them steroids and all those kind of things. So
I
yeah.
think these two cultures like have various ideologies if you look at it. Like from the Durobo's perspective now, they were one with nature, down to their ecosystem, how they moved with nature. So now, and for Masai, he revered the cow before any other thing else.
Yeah.
So I think even if you look at it now, these cultures have passed down. There are so many people that still practice the same ecosystem balance, and then we still have our Fulani Dinkai tribes. And if you see these cultures now still make trends that affect us currently now.
In what way?
In what way? Now, for instance, when we come down to open grazing, these trends still affect us to this very day because of something that was not cultivated or thought back then. And because we allowed the whole nuance. Now, Maasai people now believe like they are maybe God's favorite, like you said. Exactly.
Chosen people
chosen
concept.
people, exactly. So how can you make me now that I feel like I'm the chosen one? I would definitely look at you as inferior to me.
Going back to how much they love their cattle, you would see it even on their attires. For example, the color red, it signifies strength, but it also signifies the blood of the cattle.
Interesting.
So you see everything, even the white, purity, but also the milk.
Wow.
Do you get it?
Yes.
And then the black, okay, that one signifies the people, the color of their skin.
Okay.
But then if you look around them, everything is based on their cattle.
Their whole lifestyle.
is
Interesting.
based on their cattle.
I have
So
another
that's
question. These stories that we usually say about, is it really fiction, or are we going to the point to agree that these stories actually exist?
actually exist.
Did it actually happen?
No, see, I
The
think we're looking at the
please
stories
look at
from
it
modern
clearly.
eyes.
Clearly, did it happen?
We're looking at the stories from modern eyes, and because we're modern and scientific, we're like, okay, the probability of cows falling down from heaven, that probability is very low,
It's a belief system, and
Yeah.
it is what they believe, and it's what has held their culture and their race for a number of times.
True.
You are what you believe, and it's just what it is. And it's predominant in different cultures.
Yeah.
If you go to the Western world, they have their belief system. The Norse tribe. If you go to India, if you go to Saudi Arabia, if you go to the Asians, everybody has a certain story that might not make sense to
Yeah.
you.
Exactly.
The Asians have the dragon, and some people tell you
Inga,
it's a mythical animal. It
Yes.
never existed. Others will swear to the heavens and the earth and tell you they existed. So it is not for us to question, but every culture, every tribe has that thing they believe in. And for the Maasai, it is the cattle. And if you ask me, I wouldn't blame them. How can one animal give you all of these things? And with the attire Favor just mentioned, even the colors, the pattern, it means something to them. So
Yeah.
therefore, like someone said back in the day somewhere, that they would protect their own cattle with their lives because it's their source of sustenance, and they would do anything to fight, protect, because technically speaking, it is their source of survival. It's their culture, it's their heritage.
Yes.
So therefore, if God gifted them these cattle, they will do anything for it.
Wow.
I think another perspective I see from these whole stories is like, sometimes these, as we say, maybe myths or fictions, these stories are made like for like unexplainable events that happened back then. Because right now these stories are not making sense to the layman's ears. But back then it made sense to whoever was telling the stories because maybe some events happened there that could not be like fixated or factualized down. And this was the best way they could explain it down.
Basically, it's a way of making sense of a senseless world because you're like, I'm a human being. How did I get to this big, crazy, complex world? And then you're like, you know what? Me too. I'll come up with my own complex stories.
Yes,
Let's be
exactly.
going.
Now,
Yes.
And you know another thing about oral tradition.
Yeah.
If it passes from generation to generation, it gets watered down.
Exactly.
Now it's possible
The story keeps
maybe these
changing.
cattle were coming down from a hill or from a mountain.
Exactly.
And the
Very
Durobo guy was like,
possible.
let's go down, let's watch how this thing goes on.
Maybe
And he
they were
made
like-
noise, and maybe the rest of the cattle ran away.
Yeah.
And that was how he didn't get much
Exactly.
And
of
then
the...
maybe it was Kilimanjaro, a very high
Yes.
mountain. And maybe they look at the mountain. Wait now,
She's
spiritual
getting
eyes.
somewhere.
With spiritual eyes. So
Yeah.
maybe they're like Mount Kilimanjaro, the highest mountain in Africa. And in fact, this is the dwelling place of the
God.
gods. So now imagine cattle just grazing, coming down, and you're like, wow, the gods must have sent these down.
You see
So
what-
it's possible.
You see what I'm saying
And
here?
then over time, then someone was like, no, actually, God threw them down.
Exactly. Now you write this story down and you pass it down orally. Over time, people tend to believe.
True.
You see what I'm saying there? So there's no even syntax that we can attach it, but as long as it's part of people's cultures, traditions, and it's what is the norm today nowadays, I guess it has to be respected.
So talking about value systems, what would you guys say resonates with you? Like, do you believe that you're more of a cattle person, like, or you're more of an animist, like one with nature, like the forest, hunting,
I'm
gathering?
not vegetarian, so
I said anything about vegetarian.
He said vegetarian.
Yeah, so if you could choose, what's your own worldview? What's your own personal perspective about this?
Me, I think, like, personally, like, from my own perspective, I believe, like, times change and we have to adapt to the times we're in. So I believe the Maasai and Durobo did things that matches with their time or whatever time frame they were in. We are keep moving and human beings keep evolving. So right now, I think I'm both. I still agree with oneness of the ecosystem, nature, and I still want to eat milk. I want those pancakes as well. So you get. So right now, I think we have evolved past the place where we need to, like, pick sides and decide which is which. I believe we can still put it as a whole.
For me, I just feel like Mother Nature gives us everything.
Right.
It gives us everything. Even the
Mother
cattle,
Nature.
the same cows that they are talking, it gives us everything. It's connected.
Mother Nature, you're
so
right.
I just feel like it's Mother Nature. It's Mother Nature.
So me too, like, I would say I resonate more with the Durobo perspective.
Yeah.
You know, I don't mind being banished to a forest. You know, I can be a tree hugger, you know, just growing my herbs and vegetables and being very healthy. Yes, I can get my protein from other sources. Like, I'll not die if I don't eat beef. But like, I
They'll
like
come
cheese,
and ask
I like
for
yogurt too.
medications
But I can still
using
get
plants.
it from goats or something.
Yes.
You know, or tofu. You know, there are alternatives.
Tofu.
So yes, tofu.
You can actually get protein from nuts as well. The
Yes,
cashew nuts
exactly.
gives you
Yes.
protein. There are other fruits out there that can
Yes,
give you
yeah.
protein. So, like you rightfully said, one might not necessarily depend on cattle to survive because there are other sources of protein.
True.
So, yes.
Looking from way back then, let's say, let's talk about the medicine they had then. So, are you trying to tell me that the Durobos did not give out medicine to the Maasai, or they just did not want to at all?
Medicine in what way?
In the sense that, okay, let's say we have plant. They say they have the plants. They have
The herbs.
the herbs.
Okay.
They are one with nature. So did they give out or they did not give out? Did the Maasai give out their cattle too? Did they not give out their cattle?
I think they had like trade by barter because they
Okay.
live side by side, their
Yeah.
neighbors. So even though yes, Maasai vexed and they were like the Durobo should live in the forest, don't be my
Yeah.
neighbor anymore. But they are still in East Africa, so clearly they are still neighbors. If one person had migrated to West Africa, they would say they really fought, but they are still living together, and I'm sure they are trading, exchanging. There's so much your cattle can do for you. You still need to make soup with that your meat now or
Yes.
something, you know, or
Yes.
grains. And the Durobo farm, they hunt other things apart from cattle, and they have herbs and medicine,
Yeah.
like you mentioned. So I'm sure they must have done trade by barter, and that's the reason why they're still neighbors. And even Durobos speak Maasai languages, you know, just
Yeah.
for survival and yeah.
Or natural selection happened and the sick ones died.
It's
Sick
possible.
who?
Yes, now the sick Maasai tribes,
the
they
sick
died.
Maasai.
Now the ones that are remaining can never fall sick.
No, my point I'm saying is that we're not so sure about the adages of this story. But yes, I believe they had to coexist
Yeah.
to even last this
Yeah,
long.
and
They
do trade by
definitely-
barter, exchange things. So maybe at first they were not giving them milk and dairy products, but I think
The
like
ones without
yes,
cattle.
even they will get to a point where they will need something that they don't have. You cannot
Yeah.
survive 100% on just your cattle. You need something. So definitely they must have exchanged commodities and traded and lived together and all of that.